Making an offer on a house is one of the most crucial steps in the home buying process, and yet it can cause a lot of stress and frustration if you don't know the process. So let me give you a quick rundown. Presenting an offer to a seller can be as simple as presenting the offer, the seller accepts, and you're in contract. Congratulations if it's that easy. But what most buyers don't realize is the norm is that it's not going to be that straightforward. It can involve a lot of negotiations, and that can create a roller coaster of emotions on the buyer's part and the seller's part if you're not informed on what could happen. So let's talk about the different scenarios. Typically, there's 3 things that can happen when submitting an offer. The first thing is the seller accepts and everyone's happy. The second thing is the seller can counter your offer. And the third thing, they can flat out reject it. But first things first, let's talk about the pre-approval. It's more than just a simple thumbs up from your lender. It's actually the foundation of the home buying process. And that's something that should be done ahead of time before you seriously start looking for a home. The pre-approval is a thorough review of your financial health by a serious lender, and that gives the seller the confidence that you can actually purchase the house. Your lender and your agent are there to help you guide you through that pre-approval process, gathering all the information such as credit score, financial statements, and anything that could affect the purchase. On a side note, I always recommend going with a local lender because a local lender has a reputation to keep up, and that will give the listing agent the confidence that they can actually follow through with the loan. Over the years, I've worked with buyers who insisted on going with online lenders because they felt that that was the cheaper way to go. And in my experience, those were the transactions that actually fell through and caused a lot of frustration, headache, and an emotional roller coaster by the buyers. These online lenders don't really care about their reputation. They also don't know the quirks of our local market. So trust me when I say it is so worth it by going with a local lender. A pre-approval is more than just proving that you can purchase the house. It shows the seller that you as a buyer did your homework ahead of time and went through the process of gathering all the paperwork together, and that will give them the confidence that you're a serious buyer that wants to purchase their house. Unless you're an investor, purchasing a home is in most instances an emotional decision, and that's great. But as your agent, it's our job to make sure that the house actually makes sense for you. We look at the neighborhoods, schools, your lifestyle, as well as your return on investment. Now that you've found that home that you really want to purchase, it's your agent's job to create a comparative market analysis, in short, CMA, that takes recent homes that sold in the neighborhood, but also active homes and overall market conditions into consideration to come up with a fair price that not only makes your offer attractive to the seller, but also make sure that you're not overpaying for the house. Keep in mind, getting your offer accepted is more than just the purchase price. It's also about the terms of the contract. How much down payment are you putting down? Do you have a physical inspection contingency in place? Are you perhaps asking a seller credit towards closing costs? All of these things, in addition to the purchase price, is what the seller looks at and will base their decision off of. And it's our job as your agent to guide you through that process. Now let's go through possible scenarios that can happen once you submit your offer. The first instance, the seller will accept it right away, and that's great because that's typically the easiest way. However, in most cases, the seller is going to counter your offer, and don't see it as a setback. See it more as an invitation for a dialogue and some negotiations, and we can typically navigate around these to make the terms acceptable for both parties. Now, in some instances, the seller will flat out reject your offer, and that doesn't mean you can't purchase the house. It simply means that we will need to reassess your offer and see if we can make the terms a little bit more favorable for the seller, or again, it's a negotiation to try and make the terms acceptable to both parties. Are you getting excited about homeownership? Well, we're here to guide you through the entire process and would love to sit down with you ahead of time and go over the entire home purchasing process from A to Z ahead of time so that you feel prepared to start your journey to home ownership.